It's a super fun day. Not only do we have Glen Perkins from the Minnesota Twins in the house, Glen, but also later tonight we will be unveiling a new family member of the Bismarck Larks, courtesy of H.A. Thompson & Sons. So we are not going to be announcing that now, because I know you'd all get on Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and tell everybody about it and ruin the surprise. But tonight at 6:30 we will be unveiling our new mascot, Clark's new girlfriend, and we are really excited to meet her. So we do have a lot of fun things in store for 2019. I'm going to save a lot of those announcements for our ticket pickup event in early May, just because you guys don't want to hear me talk, you want to hear the main person here speak. But right now I would like to give a special shout out and recognition to our sponsor for this event, Image Printing. Image Printing has not only provided us outstanding printing products and solutions the past year, but really they've been a great partner of ours. You know, with the baseball team, we have some really unique and goofy asks, like, can you print a program that we change 12 times and, you know, every 3 games, and fresh content and stories, and it's a lot of work for us, thus I know it's a lot of work for them. I've also just recently called them and asked, how do you fold a piece of paper 16 times and stuff it in a box for a pocket schedule? Which seems easy, but I've heard it's really not. But Dave said, no problem, we can take care of this. So again, we just are truly appreciative of Image Printing and their partnership and really working with us on finding a lot of those solutions for our printing needs. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the co-owner of Image Printing to introduce our speaker, Dave Nelson.
I normally don't read, I just kind of sit and talk for hours. Welcome everyone. Now my wife gets really nervous when I get a mic. She's like, okay, this could last for a while. John, Rob, Aaron, the rest of the folks at the Bismarck Larks, thanks a lot for allowing Image Printing the opportunity to be a sponsor of today's event. This is fantastic. Some of you know I'm a huge Twins fan. Have been for a long time. Dan Gladden, Jack Morris, Corey Provis, they hang in my radio with a lot of miles between Fargo and Bismarck. I actually plan my trips around Twins broadcasts. And hey man, Glen Perkins is in the house! So, Image Printing, we're proud to be celebrating our 25th anniversary this month. Todd Klositzer, my partner, our shareholders and employees, myself, would like to thank all of our great customers. Some of you are here today, thank you for being here, and our friends for 25 great years. We're looking forward to many more. Image Printing is proud to have partnered with the Bismarck Larks. It's been a super relationship. The Larks, what a great addition to our community. Let's give them a round of applause. I think I'm done talking. I'm introducing now. It's pretty good, isn't it? No cutting off, no more. So, music. Proud to welcome Glen Perkins, a Minnesota native. He played for the University of Minnesota, made his major league debut with Minnesota Twins in 2006. During his 12-year MLB career, he played exclusively with the Twins organization. He posted a .388 ERA, 504 strikeouts, 120 saves, and he was a 3-time American League All-Star. In Minnesota Twins history, he is number 3 in all-time saves, only behind Joe Nathan and Rick Aguilera. I'm thinking a 96-mile-an-hour fastball, that doesn't hurt your career stats. Now, that was on the field. In retirement, he looks a little young to be retired. In retirement, he enjoys a lot of the same things that we do. Hunting, fishing, brewing beer, smoking meat, woodworking, hanging out with the family. So let's welcome Glen Perkins.
Thank you. I've been asked a lot if I had been here before to Bismarck, and I feel like people think that, oh yeah, Major League Baseball player and all this and money, and I had to tell everybody, like, I live on a dirt road now. I live on a farm. This is home to me. This is great. So I have not been here, but I love it. Thank you for having me, first and foremost. And so when I got this whole thing, this was like in January, and some of the people with the Twins came to me and said, hey, do you want to go up to Bismarck? And do this event and for the Northwoods League team, and yeah, sure, that sounds like fun. And so I get the itinerary, and it's fly out at this time, and then they'll pick you up here, they'll pick you up here, and then they're going to bring you to this event, and you got to deliver a 10-minute speech. And so right there, I'm like, I mean, I can talk the same way he can talk. I can talk, believe me, and you'll see me talk. I'm not going to write a speech. Is there any kids in here? Cover your ears. I didn't do good in school, so I'm not much of a speech guy. But and I read a little. I read a little further, and it says talk about the importance of playing summer college baseball. Okay, well, I don't want to give a speech. I didn't play college summer baseball. But you know what? I think I can go up there and I think I can relate with these people. So, just the way it worked. I actually managed to sign with college summer teams 3 times and never went, which is, it's got to be a record. And I had signed to play in the Northwoods League team, so for anyone or anybody, they do get good players. They do get a lot of from outstate, from all over. So it's definitely a good league. I think from what I've heard, the community has supported the team at an incredible level, which is awesome. That's cool, because this is where it all starts. And kids remember this stuff. I remember high school games. I remember playing in Siebert Field in high school. Kids remember that stuff, even when they get to pitch in an all-star game in Target Field. I still remember times that I pitched when I was a kid and when I was in college and those things. So that's memories for you, for your family, and for those kids out on the field too. So again, I don't want to sit up here and talk about myself. I think what we're going to do, maybe he's going to ask me some questions. What I would like to do is hear from you guys. What do you guys want to hear about? What do you want me to talk about? And I think that's the coolest thing, because I'm not here to talk to you. I'm here for you to ask me questions and tell you stories about stuff that you guys want to hear, not what I want to tell you. So I think maybe we'll do it like that.
I get first question.
You can. Is it okay with your wife?
All right, 2006, MLB debut, Fenway Park. You walk out of the bullpen, walk towards that mound. What did it feel like walking to the mound and getting ready to throw that first pitch?
So the last thing I remember, that sounds like a joke, and it's not. I literally don't remember anything that Gardy said. What I remember is our bullpen coach, Rick Stelmazik, as I'm warming up, and I think every kid, I'm trying to throw every ball as hard as I can, and he says, hey, son, he's an old guy. I think he was with the Twins for 30-some years, 81 or something was his first year, so, hey, when you throw that ball, it's going to be a foot higher when you're out on the field. Because if you think you have adrenaline now, it's going to, and so I'm like, okay, well, I'm trying to throw everything down and, ground balls or whatever. And he says, no, you're going to throw that ball right down the middle. And I'm like, okay. So I obviously ran out on the field. And I do remember as I was running out on the field, not being able to feel my legs. I was running, and it was I was waist up, and I'm running. I'm I hope I don't just jelly leg and fall to the ground, because I honestly thought I was going to. I really thought that I was going to trip on something, or my shoelace or whatever. And I got out, and Gardy said whatever he said. I had no clue. And so I'm out there, and then I go to throw my first warm pitch. I bring my leg up, and I remember I was just stride home and throw the ball. And then it got a little better from there. I think the coolest part of my debut, so I'm 23 years old or whatever, get called up. It's Fenway Park. They're doing the wave, and that. Has anybody been to Fenway here? So that stadium is like a silo. So it's built in a really small, and then it's really tall. So when you're on the field, you feel the fans are all around you. And so I just remember doing all that stuff, and so I'm facing Carlos Pena, and So Joel was the catcher, I believe Maurer was the catcher, and he fastball, I'd throw him a fastball, and I think he took it. Get the ball back, maybe he threw that ball away, I don't know. But puts down another side fastball, throw it, he swings and misses. And I'm like, well, crap, like, all right, guy missed it. Joel puts down another one, throw it, swing and miss, strike 3. Like, dang, this is pretty easy. And then as we're running off the field, I'm like, I need to get that ball. Because that's my first strikeout, that's the first batter I face, that's all these things. And like now you see it like, a dude throws like one pitch and they throw that one out, and it's like he throws a strike and they throw that one out, and he gets the, oh, here's your first ground ball. And we're running off the field and I see it. So now I do, because you asked me if it was Joe, and now it 100%, because I'm remembering the story. I'm running off, jogging off the field toward the dugout, third base side, and Joe's running off, and he goes to take his mask off, and he throws the ball up the stands. And I'm a rookie, so I don't say, and I had at that point I'd known Joel for like 6 or 7 years, so I could have said something to him, but I didn't say anything until, I mean, it was years later that I was like, dude, it'd be cool to have my first strikeout ball, but you chucked it up in the stands. So that was that. Then I went back on pitched, but Fenway Park, that was awesome. I think the funniest part though is then, so like baseball, like it's scouting reports, and it's like, oh, I know how to get this guy out. Like you spend so much time like looking at like how to pitch to guys and how, hitters, how I'm going to face this pitcher and all these things. And so the next year, Carlos Pena ends up on the Tampa Bay Rays, and so he gets up to bat, and I'm like, oh, I've faced this guy before. Fastball, swing and a miss. I think it was like a fastball, foul ball or whatever. And I'm like, okay, let's throw another fastball and a swing and miss. And he hit it out to center field at the Metronome, out of the stadium, or out of the field. So my first strikeout, my first home run was the same guy, which I think is kind of neat. Different teams, but also kind of humbles you a little bit. Like, okay, maybe I can't just like think I'm going to throw fastballs right by everybody, because these guys are pretty good. So, yeah, that's it. That's awesome. That ball had like probably like a blue mark on it from the seat that it hit. And, no, I had the seat back that's cracked from when it hit. I didn't want that one. I did not want that one. But what was cool though is that then, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago, he's on MLB Network now. And I was doing an interview with him and Mark DeRosa, and I told him that story. And that's the cool thing about baseball. Like, it connects generations, it connects people. Even all the crowd here, you see it. That that guy, he kind of came up and was good and was kind of getting out of the game as I was getting in. So I had to talk to him 10 years down the road. Hey, I did this, and it's something that I remember as a young player, and he has, had no idea that he ever faced me. So it's something cool that kind of baseball brings people together. Toughest guy to get out. Carlos Santana. He was with the Indians for a while. And the first time I faced him, he hit a pop-up behind shortstop, and whoever a shortstop was, this was like 2011-12, so it could have been one of like 15 different guys. He lost at the Sun, and so it went down for a single. And I remember when I faced him, like, he was a big prospect, so I'm like, all right, you kind of know the guy. I'm like, I got to figure out how to get him out in that. So I'm going to pop out, and I'm like, okay, next time I'll see him, whatever. So I walk him. He ends up like 7 for 11 with 4 home runs. The only other single he ever got off me was hit to left field over Rosario's head, and it was hit so hard that it just bounced off the wall. Like, Rosario did like this thing, and it hit the wall, and he just turned it through a bit. Like, he couldn't even, like, I think Rosario was throwing the ball in before he got to first base. Like, he hit it so hard. So that guy, and then as soon as I retired, and he went to the National League, signed with the Phillies. Then do that for you. I might still be playing if he was there. There was a question over here.
Most valued teammate relationships and why over the course of your career?
Oh my gosh. That's a tough one, because like I have some really good lifelong friends. But I think the guys the two guys, for me more than anybody, Mike Redmond and Juan Rincon. And I think that like probably my biggest influences in the game are Jesse Crane, Matt Guerrero, and Joe Nathan. They were all in the bullpen when I came up. But Juan Rincon and Mike Redmond were so mean to me. And so I get up there and like it's already hard enough, right? Like I'm in the big leagues and the crowds and all this stuff. And it's a lot to process in and of itself. Then you got guys that are like on you all the time and nothing's ever good enough. But what happens is you end up earning their respect. And what I took from that was when a guy that comes up that's younger than me, I'm not going to be mean like he was, but I'm going to make those guys. I'm going to help them because you end up seeing like some of the stuff, like the way they did it is different than the game is now, and it was probably even things you couldn't get away with now. But it made me a better teammate. It made me a better player. It made me more mentally strong. So all those lessons that they taught me, I taught those to younger guys a little bit differently, but had the same mentality of like they took it on themselves, and like you end up seeing it where when you get to be an older guy that you have a contract that you're trying to fulfill, you have expectations from fans that you're trying to fulfill, but you also have expectations from younger players that, hey, we need to know how to have success. We need to learn what it takes to have success here. Because it's a jump like in no other business and no other thing. Like going from the minor leagues to being nobody to getting there and pitching in front of fans or playing in front of fans. So those guys taught me more than anything in what to do and what not to do. And to see Mike Redmond, I saw Juan Rincon last year at Johan's Hall of Fame thing, and I hadn't seen him in a long time, and it was fun to talk to him and like being a guy that, hey, I played my career, veteran, all those things, like how different the relationship was. And like then Mike Redmond, he's a bench coach with the Rockies, so you see him around, he was a manager with the Marlins, so you see those guys around and how that relationship evolves is really cool. But definitely those two guys just kind of taught me like the good side and the bad side of the game, and ended up being a couple of really good friends.
As a pitcher, mentally, did you have a trick when you were in those real high stress situations? Did you have something you focused on other than the batter, or what did you do there?
You know what? It's crazy how, and a prime example is my debut when I saw all those fans doing the wave, and like it seemed like the whole situation was overwhelming me. As you get into those situations, as you encounter them, as you work your way through them, you end up going out on the field and like, I don't know if it's like feeding off of that. Like I loved pitching in front of the home crowd. But pitching on the road and having those fans like cheer because they're trying to do the pump up video like the Twins do and all those things, like, and you're going out there and you're like, you know what, I'm going to make all these people go home mad. Right? But you end up like tuning that stuff out. Like I would come out there to warm up, and I'd love it when they play, because when you're coming in, like the one thing about Target Field is they never played music loud enough, and so you can never hear it on the field. Like it never is like super loud. And so we would go to like other fields and they would play like their pump up video, and it was freaking loud, awesome, right? Like, so it's getting me fired up. But then like the game would start, or the inning would start, and it'd be like all that stuff would go away. Like I would have no idea what. All I would see was just like the catcher, whoever the catcher was like that was my focus, and like everything else would kind of drown out. I think that's not something that, maybe that's what helped me be successful. I don't know, but that was, I think, just from the beginning to as I got more established, is a lot of that stuff you just drown out.
Who was your idol growing up?
I had a few. So I was 4 in '87 when they won, then I was 8 in '91. So I was a Frank Viola guy because he was a lefty pitcher, and then I was Kent Herbeck. So I still have, my parents have it. I have like 80 Kent Herbeck baseball cards. Like that's what I collected. He was I can't hit, I never could hit, but I love that he was the lefty, and like I remember going to the dome and they do the no smoking and he'd pretend to smoke out at first base. And, just like the jokester that he is, and it's really cool when your life comes full circle and now he sends me like voice memos of him like farting into his phone. Like that kind of, it's like surreal. Like I used to like this dude's baseball cards. And, like, oh, Kent. It's, you're like, oh. But no, so Kent, and then as I got older, Randy Johnson, another lefty pitcher, really good. So, but for the big chunk of my life, it was Kent Herbeck. Was probably more so than anybody else.
So what would be your most memorable moment?
I think, there's getting drafted by the Twins. The odds of that happening aren't very good. Like you don't get to choose where you go. They choose you. And so it just kind of worked out that I was like good enough to get into the range where they wanted to take me. So there was that. Somebody's phone's ringing. So there was getting drafted. There was my major league debut, but far and away is the All-Star game in 2014. And just the confluence events of that. Like I came up a starter. I came up through the minor leagues as a starter, and then was a reliever, and then started games. And I remember my wife asked me one time, like, Joe Nathan, like he just pitches one inning. Like, would you ever do that? And I'm like, no, I'm going to be a starter. And then, like, you never think anything of it. And then, I get hurt, and you bounce, you go back and forth a little bit, and I barely made the team in 2011, And then 2 years later, I'm in an All-Star game. And then the year after that, I'm pitching in front of probably, hopefully, maybe some of you guys here, and just been Twins fans. Like, that's insane. Like, and like being a Minnesota guy, and like I've always, like he said, man, I thought you were a lot bigger. Like, I've always just tried to like blend in and just be like a guy. Like, I don't want to go anywhere and like have people like, oh look, like if I'm 6'7", like everybody, no, whatever. So I it's just, so I feel like I'm like a through and through Minnesota Twin, Minnesota person, whatever. And so to get that opportunity to be on that field, like I remember as a kid watching Tom Bernansky and Kirby Puckett play catch. I'd sit up in upper right field and like see him throwing a ball on the Metrodome field, and I'm like, I'm never going to be able to throw a ball that far. Like things like that were like, and then I'm the one that's out on the field. Like I remember running out on the field that night being like, I'm that guy. Like there's people in this crowd, or kids in this crowd that are like, I want to be him. And that's crazy. Like you don't, first of all, but you may want my career, but no. But it just, that so far outweighs anything else that I've ever done. And I knew in that moment, unless I got a chance to pitch in the World Series, like at Target Field, nothing would top that. That's impossible. I mean, it was 85 and then 2014. It's a once in a generation-ish kind of event. So to be the guy that gets to go out there at the end of the game, it's pretty special.
So how